What's happening, crypto fam? Happy Friday. Welcome back to Love for Crypto. I'm Scott, whether you're watching on IGTV, Facebook or YouTube. It is a pleasure to have you here. I hope you've had a good week. I hope you've been having a good week. If it's your last day, nice. If it's not, then keep grinding. Keep grinding. Shouldn't be too long now. Hyperledger, baby. Yeah, let's get into this, because today's video, I might do a couple of videos today, introducing Hyperledger Transact. Now, welcome to Hyperledger Transact, the 14th project in the Hyperledger greenhouse. This is on official Hyperledger site, so if you just Google Hyperledger, go on the site, click to the bottom at the blog, and you will see the store there right in front of your face. So today we're excited to announce the newest project, Hyperledger Transact. Transact represents a continued evolution at Hyperledger towards greater componentization. That's a new one. For greater componentization to allow rapid, responsible adoption of new blockchain technologies. Transact provides a platform-agnostic library for executing transactions with smart contracts. It allows us to more rapidly integrate a variety of smart contract technologies such as WebAssembly across a Hyperledger family of projects. Transact is informed from experiences in designing multiple Hyperledger frameworks, including Hyperledger Sawtooth and Hyperledger Fabric, which we know a lot of people are going to be using. Smart contracts are a fundamental building block for distributed ledgers. In distributed ledger frameworks, a transaction represents an intended change that is submitted by a user. Transactions are interpreted by smart contracts, which update the current state of the system. As a result, existing solutions for smart contracts execution are generally tied to a specific distributed ledger implementation, which limits the code's reusability. Hyperledger Transact will reduce development effort for distributed ledger solutions by providing a standard interface for executing smart contracts that separate from the distributed ledger implementation. There's a dog at the side of me. I'm going to kick fuck out of it in a minute if I don't fuck off. I can't handle dogs, the nosy bastards. What's Hyperledger Transact? And people get so fucking nosy, mate. Legitimately had a person stood right like 2 meters off me, just staring at me watching. I felt like turning around saying fuck off. I just said I'm gonna kick fuck out of his dog and he walked away. Fucking over there, the prick. Anywho, what is Hyperledger Transact? You could hear me, like I even went quiet, didn't I? That happens, that, mate. So yeah, it's not easy doing videos, is it? I'm all like, and occasionally I got a little bit anxious then about some cunt with a dog. Because I was ready for fucking, I was ready then. You needed to get the fuck away from me. I was going under. To the point where I nearly stopped the video. Fucking prick. I feel like redoing it now. I've wasted 60 seconds, man. So what is Hyperledger Transact? Hyperledger Transact makes writing distributed ledger software easier by providing a shared software library that handles the execution of smart contracts, including all aspects of scheduling, transaction dispatch and state management. Hyperledger framework level projects and custom distributed ledgers can use Transact, advanced transaction execution and state management to simplify the transaction execution code in their projects and take advantage of Transact's additional features. That was... my head was like, I can't read that. The fuck's that? It's complicated, innit, guys? And try to look into shit like this and you don't really get it. But all you basically really need to get is this is going to enable multiple platforms to read different kinds of smart contracts. I think that's basically what it's getting at. More specifically, Transact provides an extendable approach to implementing new smart contract languages called smart contract engines. Smart contract engine implements a virtual machine or interpreter that processes smart contracts. Example includes Ceph, which processes Ethereum virtual machine smart contracts, and Sabre, which handles WebAssembly smart contracts. Transact Also provides software development kits for implementing smart contracts and smart contract engines, which makes it easier to write smart contract business logic in a variety of programming languages. Hyperledger Transact is inspired by Hyperledger Sawtooth and uses architectural elements from Sawtooth's current transaction execution platform, including the approach to scheduling, transaction isolation, and state management. Transact is further informed by requirements of Hyperledger Fabric to support different database backends and joint experiences between Sawtooth and Fabric for flexible models for execution adapters. Example, lessons from integrating Hyperledger Burrow. Diving deeper, if they fucking can. Transact is fundamentally a transaction processing system for state transitions. State data is generally stored in a Merkle radix tree, whatever the fuck one of them is if you want to look that up. A key value database or an SQL database given an initial state and a transaction. Transact executes a transaction to produce a new state. These state transitions are considered pure because only an initial state and the transaction are used as input. In contrast, other systems such as Ethereum combine state and block information to produce the new state. As a result, Transact is agnostic about framework features other than transaction execution and state. Awesome, right? If you understood that. It literally says awesome, right? As if we knew exactly what all that fucking meant. Was we supposed to understand all that? Did you shout off in the comments, man, if you understood all that bullshit? Because it's just more talking in fucking code, man. So Transact deliberately talks in fucking code so no fucker's going to understand it and say that. It says Transact deliberately omits other features such as consensus, blockchaining, and pairing. These features are the responsibility of Hyperledger frameworks such as Sawtooth, Fabric, and other distributed ledger implementations. The focus on smart contract executions means that Transact can be used for smart contract execution without conflicting with other platform level architectural design elements. So, Hyperledger, constantly growing. There's another story on there as well, the case study on Change Healthcare's use of Hyperledger Fabric. So we've got Change Healthcare have turned to Hyperledger Fabric to begin blockchain enabling its intelligent healthcare network, which now processes 50 million transactions a day. I might do another little video about that in a minute. I'm probably going to start walking home as well. Everyone's coming out with their fucking dogs and shit. Bit late. I'm late this morning. I feel late. I feel a bit late. There's not that many kids about though. Before the school kids, which is a good thing, but I still feel fucking people shouldn't be out with dogs and shit. I've had a lot of people question Hyperledger. Question Hyperledger Quilt, saying it's in Interledger's not Hyperledger Quilt anymore, and Interledger was never Hyperledger Quilt. Hyperledger Quilt is bringing ILP to the other Hyperledger frameworks and tools, so anyone who builds on top of them, they've already got the ILP implementation. It's been there waiting, it's in incubation, being worked on, whatever you want to say. You can look more into it if you want. Interledger, Hyperledger, and Quant Overledger, all completely different, but all going to work together to provide an internet of value, a network of networks. Yeah, Hyperledger's open source as well, so all these, if you're a developer out there and you know what, you understand some of this, get yourself on the Hyperledger community, join the Interledger community, join the W3C Interledger community, and get in the forums and get your head around the code and shit and start building your own stuff. Build me a ledger while you're at it. Build Love for Crypto, a company ledger we can keep all our value and fucking accounts on. Love that shit. Personal ledgers, baby. Yeah, open source tech, everyone in bed together. Like, fucking shun it off at your own luxury, I suppose. I can see a mile off how massive Hyperledger's gonna be. We love Hyperledger, we love crypto, we love XRP, and we love you. Fuck yeah, you know this. Peace out, guys. Have a good weekend.